Hey everybody, Mark Dawes here. Now, this video was prompted by my good friend Trevel, who put up a post on LinkedIn about staff being abused at work and the need for more transparent and open communication and reporting and training and even counseling for staff. And that's all great on one level, but I'm actually a qualified therapist myself. I'm a qualified hypnotherapist and I've done EFT and NLP and everything else. And the one thing I know for fact is if you take someone out the environment where they're being abused, and you do some counseling with them, even some hypnotherapy, in a nice, safe environment, they feel better, but they still have to go back to the environment. And so the cycle of counseling becomes a crutch more than a cure. So what can we do about it? Well, there is a lot we can do about it. But it's not just that issue that I wanted to talk about, because over the last week or so, we've seen the events unfolding in Afghanistan. We've seen the devastating events that happened in Haiti. We've got global warming to think about. We've got human trafficking going on, terrorism happening, civil wars all over the world, bushfires happening in numerous countries throughout the world. And on a global scale, we could sit back and say, do you know what? There is a lot going wrong with this world. And it can make us, each and every one of us, feel a bit insignificant. And when we feel insignificant, we can become cynical because we don't know what we can do that can affect the bigger picture. And at this point, I want to tell you a story. Some of you have heard this before. There'd been a storm, and post the storm, there were thousands of starfish washed up on the beach. And there was a cynical old man walking around. He'd been in business for numerous years and very cynical. And in the distance, he saw a small child picking up starfish and throwing them back in the sea. So he walked up to the child and had a look round, and there's miles of beach that way and miles of beach that way and thousands of starfish on the beach. And he said to the child in quite a cynical way, he said, "Why are you bothering?" He said, "You're not going to make any difference whatsoever." And the child picked up a starfish and he threw it back in the sea and turned to the cynical old man and went, "Well, it made a difference to that one." And the point of this story is we can each make a difference on a small level that can have massive effects. And the difference I'm talking about here is meditation. Now, if you think about Trevel's post about staff being abused at work, are they going to be productive or unproductive? Well, probably based on surveys that have been done in the past, if they're stressed, if they're worried, if they're anxious, if they're constantly under counseling, they're going to be less productive. There's been studies done on people who meditate, and there was a study done on business executives, and they found that business executives who meditate become 500% more productive. Now, people say to me sometimes, "How come you're always putting content out? How come you're always doing stuff? How come you're so busy? Where do you find the time?" Well, it's because I meditate. I've been meditating for decades. And that allows me to become more productive because it allows me to become more focused and deal with what I need to deal with. And I don't let the stuff that I can't deal with worry me. Another study done by a defense research agency showed that people who meditate are 490% better at problem solving because they're more creative. So this one act of meditating makes you 500% more productive, 490% better at problem solving, and far more creative. That's why great business people have always meditated. Steve Jobs, Anita Roddick, to name but a few, because it is functional. But you're probably thinking, well, that's great for me, but how does it affect things on a global scale? Well, when you meditate, you go into a blissful state, which affects the meditator. Okay, that affects us. But obviously, we're meditating, so there's a thought process going on here, and we're producing energy. That energy doesn't stay with us, it goes off into the universe. And when people meditate collectively, all with a common purpose, that has been shown again through research to make changes on a global scale. And there's been studies done with this where crime rates were reduced, I believe it was in New York, by people meditating. People are being cured from people who pray for them. And praying and meditation, by the way, for me is the same thing. Okay, different vehicle, same thing. So if you pray or if you meditate, it's the same thing. It's having focused attention on creating a blissful state. Okay. Now, there are various things you can do to meditate, so I'm not going to run a course on meditating here, but this is why we've introduced this into our refresher training courses for this year. We're introducing it on our restraint instructors courses. We're doing it on our self-defense instructor courses, because if you think about it, if we're teaching people to defend themselves by fighting, we're adding fuel to the fire. If we're teaching people to restrain people who are violent, that needs to be done in a compassionate way. Right? So compassion is a really important aspect when it comes to using force, because it could result in you not needing to use force. It can result in you becoming more resilient and dealing with conflict in the workplace. So when we do our conflict management course that we did this year, meditation and mindfulness was a part of that course. So I have a challenge for you. Learn to meditate. And by the way, it's quite simple. All you got to do is sit quietly and focus on your breath. And there are 1,001 courses out there on the internet that you can find that will do it for you. But if you want to know more, get in touch with me. I've got some stuff I can probably send you. And here's the wonderful thing about it as well. You can't fail. Because if you're breathing and you're focusing on your breathing and your mind wanders, you just bring it back to your breath. And the more you do that, the better you'll become at it. And then you become a better meditator. It's like anything with practice over time, it becomes more of a natural thing to do. But I'm going to tell you something else as well, in case you're thinking, guy's off his trolley. You meditate anyway. Just that most people meditate in the wrong way. They worry about stuff they've not got any control over. They have bad thoughts and they get angry about stuff that they can't do anything about. And that is a form of meditation, if you like, because you're focusing your thought, but you're focusing it in a destructive and non-productive way. So change the tuning, focus in on the positive, and you'll get positive results. Because remember, your brain's a muscle. Good things in, good things out. Bad things in, bad things out. Okay, and some of you watching this will be hugely fit, I'm sure, because you go down the gym and you train your body in a certain way. Don't forget the most important muscle in the whole of your body. 3.5 pounds of infinite intelligence between your ears. Okay, I hope that helps. I'll be interested in your comments below. Speak to you soon.